We're now going to listen to chapter 2 of our book, Giant. Meet the family. Before I tell you about the rest of that day, you'd better meet my family. Otherwise, you might make the mistake of thinking that they're normal. When you open the front door at your house, maybe you hear a television or a radio, someone making a cup of tea or preparing dinner, maybe the sound of dog barking hello. When I open my front door, I hear noise. Constant, ear-thrumming, eye-squinting, teeth-edge-setting noise. Drilling and singing and shouting and laughing and banging. And then some more singing like a noise cherry on the top. This is what Mum, Dad, Uncle Miles and Uncle Talbot are like. They think it's a waste of time to speak when you can shout, or to walk when you can run, or to smile when you can laugh. They believe in living life to the full. Mum, and making the most of every moment, Uncle Miles. And you can get run over by a bus tomorrow, so follow your passions, Uncle Talbot. Maybe you think that sounds fun, and it is, for them. But if you spent your life trying to be heard by people who are busy living life to the full and making the most of every moment and following their passions in case they get run over by a bus, sometimes it's not fun, it's exhausting. Uncle Miles and Uncle Talbot don't actually live with us. They share a flat down the road, but it feels like they do. About a year ago, they decided to make Uncle Miles's dream of opening a restaurant come true. The problem was that they couldn't afford to buy a restaurant, so they decided to turn our house into one. This is why the sound of drilling in our house is as regular as boiling the kettle. And my family drinks a lot of tea. Uncle Miles is the cook, so he cooks all our meals. We eat a lot of experiments. Mum's in charge of all the alterations, which is why she's in a good mood pretty much every day. She's always loved DIY, and as long as she's drilling, nailing, fixing or thumping things, she's happy. Until the restaurant opens, Dad, Uncle Miles and Uncle Talbot are still running their bakery business. It's called A Piece of Cake. With Uncle Miles doing the baking and Uncle Talbot and Dad making the deliveries and handling the marketing. Dad and Uncle Talbot also really love to sing. So it all takes place to a musical soundtrack. They call themselves Volume 11. That tells you all you need to know. You'd think that after being missed on the coach again, Josh's donkey joke, and finding out that I'd been cast as all 7 dwarfs in the school play, the day would have been a complete fail. But it's like Uncle Miles says, sometimes there's honey in the sour cream. With Uncle Miles's recipes, sometimes there really is honey in the sour cream. When I came in that afternoon, sitting on the table in the hall was a letter addressed to me. And the return address on it made my heart thump. It was from the International Cartoon Strip Association. 2 months before, I'd entered one of their competitions after seeing an ad at the back of my Spider-Man comic. Elise had made me send off my cartoon Giant vs. Dr. Slime, even though I'd told her I didn't stand a chance. I opened the envelope. The letter said that mine had been selected as one of the top 20 entries. Giant vs. Dr. Slime had been given an honourable mention in the under-18s category. I was so shocked I thought I had maybe misread it. Maybe it said it hadn't got an honourable mention. But then why would they write to tell me that I hadn't got one? I read the letter again. There it was, Anzo Oliver, Giant vs. Dr. Slime, honourable mention. I was used to thinking of myself as below average, apart from my height, where I was well below, but you already know that. But the International Cartoon Strip Association was saying that out of over 1,000 entries, over 1,000, my cartoon was one of 20 to be picked out and sent a specific special certificate. I didn't even care that I hadn't got first, second or third place, because I knew what a long shot getting placed at all was. Even though I hadn't grown at all in the last 18 months, I suddenly felt 3 inches taller. Maybe, just maybe, some things in my life were about to get a bit better. I made my way to the kitchen. If I was lucky, Mum wouldn't be doing a DIY project for the restaurant today. I wasn't lucky. Mum had removed 2 cabinets from the kitchen wall and had her head inside one of them. "Hi, Mum!" My only answer was a clink as she yanked out a nail and threw it behind her onto the floor. Mum isn't big on tidying up, so you have to watch yourself in our house. It's not unheard of to reach for your toothbrush and find yourself picking up a wrench. "Hi, Mum!" I sometimes wondered if the reason my parents didn't seem to hear me was because their ears were so high up and my mouth was so low down. Maybe it was just an accident of geography. Just a minute, Mum yelled from inside the cabinet. This nail is picking a fight with me, but don't worry, I'm going to win. I stood with my certificate and waited. My family were usually busy doing something, usually something loud. So I got used to waiting around for them to be finished. Eventually, Mum extracted her head from the cupboard. Whoever fitted this unit did a real bodge job. It's a disgrace, she told me. They used drywall screws instead of washer head screws. Can you believe it? I had no idea what she was talking about, but I tried to look shocked. She wiped her hands on her dungarees. Mum had a sort of uniform that she wore. Dungarees or jeans, a scarf with some unusual pattern on it, like drills or hammers or nails, maybe even washer head screws, and trainers in a bright colour. I could see that she was already twitching to get her head back into the cabinet. Once Mum had started a job, she didn't like to stop until she'd finished. I held out the certificate. I got this today. Mum glanced down at it. Guess what she said? A. Hey, this calls for a celebration. Let's go to Pizza Hut and order everything. No. B. Wow, I'm so proud of you, Anzo. No. C. You're the best comic strip artist in the world. Okay, maybe a bit hopeful on that one. And no. No, what Mum said was, it was probably very competitive, Anzo. Don't worry, an honourable mention isn't bad at all. I knew that. I was about to tell her that it wasn't bad, it was actually very good. Over 1,000 entries. When she went on as if she wanted to drop the subject as quickly as possible. Can you go and get the Phillips screwdriver? I think I left it upstairs. I guess she hadn't heard of the International Comic Strip Association, the greatest organisation known to cartoon kind. And maybe she was just really worried about the kitchen cabinet. I thought about trying to explain, but then I remembered the other times. I tried to talk to my family about my cartoons. They always said things like, that's nice, can you hand me the hammer, Mum? Or, that reminds me, did I ever tell you about the time I drew a doodle on Mr. Baldwin's bald head, Uncle Talbot? Or, I don't know where you get your talent from. Oh yes, I do, it's me, Dad. So I went and got her the screwdriver and took my honourable mention letter up to my room. I almost wished I hadn't told her, so I could have kept the honey bit of the day to myself. We've now got a picture. It says, Dr. Slime was up to his old tricks again. He needed to be stopped. And fast. It was time for Giant to teach Dr. Slime a lesson. It was time for Dr. Slime to pick on someone his own size. Hang in there!